Hi, this is Jana and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making some homemade potato donuts. Potato donuts. My grandmother used to make potato donuts and we all loved them. And every time we went to her house, I promise you she'd pull some out of the freezer because she'd always make them ahead of time. I have some warm milk here and some rapid rise instant yeast, okay? So I'm going to pour all of that into my warm milk. And I tested the temperature of my milk and it was 110 degrees. And you want it to be very warm milk, okay? Because that activates this instant yeast. You don't want that for the regular yeast because that's too hot. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put in 2 cups of my mixer here, 2 cups of bread flour, 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Poof, poof. Get it all in there. We're going to add our 1/2 cup of sugar. We have a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And here we have some warm mashed potatoes. I just took Idaho russets, okay? Not waxy, not red potatoes, not the waxy potatoes, because you need the fluffiness. And I just boiled them and then mashed them with my potato masher, okay? And so that is 200 grams, which is about 1 cup, okay? A little over 1 cup of mashed potatoes, about 2 medium potatoes, okay? And then I've got 3/4 of a cup of milk with that yeast. We're going to put that in here. Get it all in there. And then I have 4 egg yolks. And get this started. Make our dough. And I have some melted butter here that I'm going to be putting in. It's about 1/3 cup of butter into our dough. And as I always say, scrape down your bowls as you're mixing because the flour, depending upon your mixer, needs to be all up in there. Oops, I got stuff flying in here, Aaron. And so we're going to mix this all together and then we're going to set it aside. I'm going to let this knead in here for about 7 to 9 minutes in my mixing bowl. If you have a handheld mixer or you mix it by hand, then you need to knead it for, about 8 minutes. You're going to knead your potato donut dough. Boy, that's a mouthful, potato donut dough. And so you can see that the flour is getting almost all the way absorbed in there. And once it does, you should see the side of the mixing bowl clear up a little bit. Here it is. And so I'm just going to let this go and I'm going to time it for 8 to 10 minutes. And then I'm going to come back and we'll look at the different texture of this dough. Well, here, I'll show you right now what kneading does to your dough, why that's important, why you don't want to see it's kind of sticky. All right. And you're going to see what it looks like when we come back after it's been kneading for 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, it's been about 9 minutes. And you can see how the texture of the dough has changed. See, it's still sticky, of course, because it's not cooked, but it's more formed together. And so now I'm going to scrape down the sides of my bowl here. And I'm going to remove the dough hook. And then I'm going to cover this with a damp towel, like not wet, just enough so it doesn't stick to my dough. And then it's going to set aside and raise the dough until it's doubled in size, okay? And then once it's doubled in size, we're going to make our donuts. And then they're going to set aside for a little bit longer. and then we will fry them up, and you're going to get to see how simple it is to make your own donuts, because donuts are expensive nowadays. I went to that crispy you-know-what place the other day, and a dozen donuts was a dozen donuts, and they aren't as big as they used to be, and some donut holes. It was almost $30. That's crazy for a little bit of flour and mashed potato. So we'll be back. Okay, we are back, and it's been 1 hour and a little more, and it's doubled in size. There's our dough. That sticky stuff that was in that bowl when we started out. And so now I'm going to put it onto a lightly, oh, it's so fluffy. It's so lovely. If you only knew, that little bit of dough turned into all of this. It's such a beautiful, soft, fluffy dough. I'm so happy. Okay, gotta get my board covered so we don't have stickitis here. So lightly flour your board, and now we're going to flour my hands. And we're going to push this down. I'm gonna put a little on top. I don't want to get too much flour on it, or else it'll make the dough heavy. We're gonna push this down. And we're gonna cut out our donuts. And then we are going to let them rise until double the size again. We're kind of pushing the air out of our dough. This is such a fun thing to do. This is the fun part for the kids. Ooh, I love oh, if you could feel how lovely and soft this dough is. It's so beautiful. Love it. Makes me happy. And this is just 4 cups of flour, right? 2 cups of bread flour and 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Some egg yolks, right? And these are going to be so much better than any store-bought donut. Okay, so there we go. Keep sticking to my finger there. So you can, little bubbles, tiny bubbles in there. So I have a small plastic one that makes like more of a mini donut. And then you have to kind of go through. I have learned this. If I'm making mini donuts, then I get donut holes, okay? I've just learned that that's how this little one works. So I'm gonna go through and make because I like donut holes. I think those are some of my best. What do you think, Erin? I'm going to try and insert this back in. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I got this on Amazon. It'll be in my Amazon cart. Not my Amazon cart. I already had it in my cart. It'll be in my Amazon storefront. You all know what I'm talking about. So if anything that I use, my serving spoons, my mixer, everything, if you want to know what I have and you want to get one too, or want to just know how much it costs or whatever, go look at my Amazon store. It'll be in the description box, the link to my store. Because I just have people ask me, where did you get this? Where did you get that? And so Erin set that up. And so when I get done cutting these, I'm going to cover it with a dish towel on a cookie sheet. And then I'm going to fry them up. So we'll be back when I'm done with this and that they raise until double. Okay, we're back. I finished cutting them all out. This is one of the pieces that I used all the little scraps, you know, that are around each of the donuts, and I pushed them back together. So it's a little fugly looking, but I promise you it's going to taste absolutely the same as all the ones that are perfect. There's a few of them in here that look funky, but they're going to rise. And so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Look at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So there's 2 dozen. 23, 24, 25, I got 26 donuts, and look at all the donut holes. And so those are gonna rise until double. I'm gonna cover them, and they're gonna set for about 30 or 40 minutes or until doubled in size, and we'll be back. Okay, to make our glaze, I've got 1/3 cup of water in my saucepan, and to that I'm adding 1 tablespoon of white sugar. Okay, I'm going to turn around here and I'm going to bring this to a boil on my stove and let it simmer for 1 minute, and then we'll be back. I have 2 cups of confectioner's sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then here I have 1½ tablespoons of Caro syrup. I use Caro or whatever favorite brand you have. And then I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. And here is my boiling water and sugar. And this is the glaze. And I'm going to mix this up, make it nice and smooth, and then we will be right back. All right, we're back. We have our beef tallow heated to 375. I'm going to double check my temperature here. It'll get a little bit cooler as we start to add our dough. And so I've got our donuts that are raised to double. And I don't want to put in too many at a time that I can't handle. And so it's not a race, right? It's not like I have a line of people waiting in line for fresh, hot donuts with a red light on. And so this is really the fun part, is flipping them. I have, you know, the wood chopsticks you get at the restaurant? I buy those just for when I'm serving Chinese food at our house or sushi or whatever. And so, chopsticks. And that's how we will flip our donuts. And so, you can start to tell over here, right on the very edge. See, it's starting to turn golden brown. So that's telling me to flip. Flip, flip. And see how nice and light and airy those are? Oh, wow. So pretty. And I don't want to get them too brown. And they're going to cook a little bit, even on this side after I turn them, because of the hot grease that they've just been in. And this is beef tallow, not vegetable oil. And so all the donuts that you find in commercial places have a little white line around the edges of them. And that's because that's where they were floating in the oil. And so this takes about 2 to 3 minutes to cook these donuts. And like I said, we don't want to overcook them. And then I've got over here, I have a wire rack, and that way they drain right away. And I have a glaze. Some of them I'm going to glaze. Not all of them are going to be glazed. Some of them will dip in sugar like my grandmother used to do. See, there we go. Now I'm going to put it in there. I'm going to roll it on the side. There's a donut. Look at that, a nice glazed donut. I'm going to come back over here and get another donut. Drop it right into the glaze. Use my other chopstick. Get it in all sides. And repeat. So I'm going to keep doing these, and I'll come back when I'm doing my donut holes. Okay, we are back. I've got some donut holes in here, and keep plunking away at those. And You can either put them in the glaze, or you can put them in a sugar or sugar and cinnamon. Okay. I have a glove on, as you can figure out why, because it's hot. I don't want to burn myself. This is what my grandma did. She rolled them in sugar. She didn't make glaze back those days. Like I said, my grandmother was born in 1807, so they didn't do all those things. They did what they had available. So we've got some sugar donuts, and I'm going to flip this donut hole there. These are just old-fashioned. I mean, this is potato donuts. Imagine mashing some fresh cooked. Look at, yum, yum, yum. They are, if I could only tell you how light and how airy these donuts are. They are so delicious. And so we'll be back. Okay, we are frying the last of our donut holes. I don't know if Erin can pan over and show you some of the other ones we have done. And so for the donut holes, I have my grease at 350, okay? I found that 350 to 375, the 375 in my skillet is a little too hot. I want them to cook, but I don't want them to cook super fast, okay? Now look, you can see after it's been in there for just a little while with these donut holes, I want to start flipping them. If you don't flip them fast enough, they will not stay flipped over, okay? And so here's one starting to go now. See, it's already kind of too late for that little guy. He's going to want to do a belly flop. And so I use my chopsticks. You could use 2 spoons or whatever you have if you don't have chopsticks. This made a lot of donuts, so our neighbors are going to get some donuts today. There we go. I'm going to poke a little hole in that one since that's not the best thing to do, but it helps to keep him so that both sides get cooked. That or I have to hold it. And they don't take very long to cook. As soon as they're brown on the other side, then we're going to take them out. All right. See, that little turtle here wants to be on his other side. And then I've got a bowl of sugar here. And I've got my glaze. You can do, like I said, sugar, cinnamon, whatever works for whatever your family likes. This was just a really odd one. It's not really a donut hole. It was just some dough that was left over that didn't really make a whole donut hole. And as soon as they're brown on all sides, then I take them out. They're very, very, very light and airy, okay? And then I'm going to roll them in the sugar. And set them on a rack. You want it to be on some sort of a rack so that they don't steam when they first come out. Okay. And so we'll be back when I'm finished with this